Hello everyone, Psychological Theatre. This week we are going to take up something a little complicated. So I would request you to take a cup of coffee or tea with you so you don't feel sleepy or something like that. The reason I say that it is difficult, not because the action itself is very difficult, but to put that action that I want to discuss today, that action is very difficult to be put into words. And hence, the language which we will use today might sound a bit difficult. I will still use normal words, but the way the words will be arranged will require a sense of questioning, a sense of attention. So let's start and look at the topic in hand, which is the state of not knowing. Okay? So we have to define the state first, and I think the easiest way to define it is by taking its opposite, the state of knowing. Before I do that, I would just like to quickly mention that words are very easy to play with. Okay? All the teachers, all the speakers on YouTube, they all function with words. They all functions in the field of words, and it's not a complaint that I'm putting. It's just there's no other way to interact with other people. You have to say stuff. And yet, even though we have to say stuff, it's very easy to keep saying stuff, because to make up stuff is also very easy. So even though we have to talk on the channel to convey to you what I'm trying to say, always remember that the expression is not as important as the actual fact. The actual fact of not knowing, which exists inside of you, inside of me, after discussion that we will see, is very much more important than all this blabbering that we will do. The blabbering has to be done because I need to convey the information. So don't just listen to the information as the more important aspect of our discussion. The more important aspect is, with the help of the information, are you able to reach the state which we are trying to discuss? Okay? So let's start with what is the state of everyday knowing. So knowing is very, very familiar to all of us, and it's so familiar that we don't even realize that we are familiar with it. What do we mean by the state of knowing? The state in which you already know what you are dealing with, what you are acting with. Okay? So if you wake up in the morning, I'm just now taking a series of examples. The moment you wake up, you straight away know that it's your bedroom or whatever is your sleeping place. Then the people around you, you are like, yes, this is my family or my friends. And then you are more familiar with everything. This is my toothbrush, this is my clothes, my shoes, my bike, whatever you use to travel. So the whole day, if you would observe carefully, it goes in the field of the known, in the state of knowing. Okay? So this is what the external aspect of knowing is, to know what's around you. I'm sitting in this place and I'm familiar with this place. Okay, I know the water bottle, the table, the cup, the screen, and everything. So this is my state of knowing, that everything I act here is from the point that I know everything else in this room. And now I'm only acting to interact with those things which I already know. The same happens in the field of psychology as well. You would see who you are as a person in your psychology. You already know that. You act according to the understanding that you already know what is present in the psychology at this moment. You already know all the emotions that come in the psychology. You have names for them. You already know all the other kind of aspects, the feelings, the anxieties, the whatever is there, anger, whatever. So our external world is surrounded by the known, and in the same way, our inner world as well is full of the known. We interact with all the things which are known to us. Externally, when you go to a place that you are not familiarized with or you are not aware of, there's a sense of fear inside of you. When you go to a new country, whether to travel, to study for a few years, the first few days are very uncomfortable. You don't feel like you belong there. And even though you have a nice room to stay, you have nice food, you can call your home, video calls, audio calls, and yet there's a sense of incompleteness. That is because the mind is so used to living with what it knows that when it has to live with something it doesn't know, it feels very uncomfortable with it. And that's why the mind desperately tries to convert that unknown into the known. So you will go to a new place, you will spend a few weeks there, and by the end of a month, you will start to feel better and better. Because now your mind has again converted everything which was unknown into the known. The new memories have been created, the new definitions have been applied. This is my new room, this is my new neighborhood, this is this and that and that. So, the mind loves to live with the known. Externally, when it faces a situation where it has to live in a state of not knowing, in a new place, at a new place, it still converts that new place into something it knows. In the psychology, the mind does it by labeling everything. Same principle, but just applied in words. So every emotion that arises in you, you straight away label it. The emotion rises, and maybe within 1 second or 2 seconds, you already conclude that I don't know, whatever emotion, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm this, I'm that. So this is the same pattern of the mind. It's trying to familiarize itself. It's trying to stay in the state where it tells itself that yes, I know what's going on. I know what's around me. I know what's going on. Now the reason the mind is doing it is because in familiarity, in the state of knowing, there's a sense of comfort, there's a sense of security. You feel like you are in control when you know what's going on. In reality, you might not be in control. Okay? But the mind feels like it. The mind feels that yes, I'm in control because I know what's around me. I know how the interactions are going on. I know how I'm getting affected by it. I know what kind of emotions are rising into me. And all of this gives a sense of comfort to the mind. So, our everyday life is totally and totally full of the mind trying to stay in the state of knowing. The mind always and always tries to stay in the state of knowing. It prefers that. Even if it goes or faces something it doesn't know, it starts to convert it into what it knows. For example, you say, I haven't had the experience of jumping in a lake, for example. Now, the way someone describes it, the way someone says, I've never had that experience and I want to have this new experience. Okay? Now the person jumps in the lake, comes out, and you ask the person, how was the experience? Okay? Now, if the mind would accept that the experience was totally new, then the mind wouldn't be able to express to you what it actually went through. Because for a new experience, the mind is not ready. The mind doesn't have the right words for it. The mind can only label what it already knows. Okay? Yet the person who comes out of the lake will reply to you, yes, it was like this and that and this and that and this and that. That very reply is the evidence that the mind has converted the experience of jumping into the lake into something it already knows. Okay? So, you think you are approaching a new experience. Okay? But the mind instantly converts the new experience into something it already knows. Because the mind refuses to stay with the unknown. So, you might plan 100 trips saying, I'm going there for new experiences. But the very definition of new is that which hasn't happened before to you, something totally new. Okay? And when something totally new happens, you don't have words for it because it's first time happening to you. You only have words for things that have happened with you before. And if any of those things happen again, you can use the words and say, yes, this happened, blah, blah, blah. But if an experience is totally new, then you cannot have words for it. Because it's the first time you are going through it. You have to create words for it now because you've never had it. But the mind still converts the new into the old. Okay? And in a sense, the experience is not totally new. When you jump in the lake, you come in contact with water, which you do every day when you go to a shower. You come in contact with water. Okay? okay? Just the information is different. Here the water is from the shower. In the lake, you're taking a dip. So all these examples I'm presenting just to emphasize on the fact that the mind really wants to stay with the experience or in the state of knowing. I think we've also discussed it before on the channel. But yeah, I'm presenting it again. So this is what the state of knowing is. This is where most people mostly live their lives. That's our standpoint. That's where we stand. Now, what is the state of not knowing then? The first thing that we can straightaway say is that it is definitely not what the state of knowing is. Right? The state of knowing cannot be not knowing as well. So, whatever you have in the state of knowing, the state of not knowing doesn't include any of that. Okay? So, the state of not knowing is totally different from a common person's everyday life. Okay? With common, we don't mean rich, poor, common. Common means how any normal human being, any average human being would live. So that is the central aspect of knowing that every human, whether rich or poor, he lives or she lives in. So not knowing is not like that. It doesn't include all those things. In the outer world, in the physical world, not knowing is inevitable. Life will push you to places which you've never been before, whether it's to hunt, whether it's to find food, whether it's to travel, whatever. And in those new places, in those new challenges, the not knowing will knock on the door. It would say, look, I'm here. You don't know what to do now in this new situation. You are finding a taxi in a new city. There are no apps. How do you find a taxi? And you have to solve a problem, okay? So physically not knowing is inevitable. It would happen to you eventually, this day, tomorrow, or whenever. Psychologically, not knowing I don't know what's the right word for here. Let's use the wrong word, but still it does something. Psychologically, not knowing is your own choice. If you want, you can live your whole life in the state of knowing psychologically. Physically, you cannot prevent it. You never know when a snake comes in front of you. You've never been trained to handle a snake, and a snake comes in front of you, you don't know what to do. You are in the state of not knowing how to solve that challenge. So physically, it's inevitable. Life will put you in this kind of situations. Psychologically, it's your choice. Psychologically, you could always stay in the state of knowing your whole life. That is what every person generally does. Every person stays the same psychologically for whole life. The whole structure of the body, every atom, every cell is changing constantly as you age. And yet we keep saying that we are the same person. For convenience, I understand that if you name yourself differently every day, it would be very difficult to run society. That's fine. But we don't believe it just as a conventional idea to make life easier. We think that is how our reality is. We think we are a specific individual who doesn't change, who stays the same individual from the birth to death for whole life. Okay, so psychologically, you are staying in the state of knowing I am person X every day. You every day know who you psychologically are. Okay, even though the body's whole structure has changed from yesterday to today, the atoms are always in flux. You cannot be the same person what you were yesterday. The person today has 1 day's extra experience than the person yesterday. So technically those those two states are different. For convenience, we name them the same, which is fine. But this idea that I am the same every day has become a sort of reality for us in our minds. So the mind chooses to do this because the mind loves to stay in the state of knowing. I need to know who I am every day. Okay? So the convenience is I define who I am and I just simply believe it for every day in my life. And that way I can fool myself that I am this every day. For example, I say I'm a good person. I defined it, and now every day in the morning I know who I am, what kind of person I am. I am person X and I'm a good person. Now, during the day, I end up doing something which is not good, for example. This is where life is again trying to shock us that, look, your belief is wrong. You were thinking you were a good person, but you've done something bad, right? So your understanding about yourself is wrong, right? Now, if the mind accepts the fact that its understanding about itself is wrong, it reaches in the state of not knowing. If it accepts that I am wrong about myself, then the first question arises in my mind or in any mind is that, then what I am? If I am not a good person, then what am I? Right? Am I a bad person? Am I a violent person? Am I a loving person? And all those questions come. So the mind always likes to be in the state of knowing about itself. That state of knowing is the mind's biggest security. That state of knowing is the essence of ego. The state of knowing yourself is the essence of the ego. You keep it same every day. For many years, you are a good person. For some people, it's their whole life they are a good person. Even though the fact of the matter, the fact that any physicist can tell you, that any biologist can tell you, any medicine person can tell you, everything is in a flux. It's changing, it's changing, it's changing. So when everything in you is changing, how can you be something static every day? How can you be something fixed every day? You cannot be. We want to keep it for convenience. Again, I'm repeating, okay? I don't want you to have a new social security number every day. That would be too much. But there should be an understanding behind it that I'm only doing it for convenience. It's not the fact of my existence. The fact of my existence is that I'm changing every day, every movement. Okay? But the mind cannot stand with that state of not knowing. The mind cannot stand with the fact that I do not know myself. Okay? The mind cannot stand with the fact that I do not know myself. Actually, the mind doesn't want to stand with that fact so much that if someone states that, people start to call him mad or something. Okay? Even though that person is stating a more logical fact that I'm changing all the moment, how can I know what I am? How can I know? I can know I'm a movement. That is a more honest answer. I'm a movement physically, psychologically. My mind is always running, my body is always running. So it's a movement. My whole existence is a representation of time, you can say. But to say I'm something fixed, which usually people believe in, is definitely something incorrect. It doesn't match with the facts. But the mind wants to do it because it cannot stand that it doesn't know itself. It cannot stand that fact that I don't know who I am. Okay? The moment the mind accepts to explore this possibility, the moment the mind sees the fact clearly that it is in a state of constant flux, thoughts are coming, going, emotions are coming, going, anxieties are coming, going, 10 voices are coming, going, 100 voices are coming and going. It's a constant movement. Then the mind becomes open to say that yes, maybe I do not know myself. Okay? And if I do not know myself, how do I feel about it? How do I respond to the fact that I do not know myself? How does it feel when you accept it with logical observation that you do not know yourself? Okay? Can the mind stand with it? Or the mind desperately runs to a new conclusion, a new solution, that no, I know myself because blah, blah, blah. This is the evidence. Oh no, I know myself because of this. So, the moment the mind is ready to face the fact that it does not know itself, that is the beginning of not knowing. The moment it sees that it doesn't know itself, it also starts to see it doesn't know the things outside. It only knows the names of those things. It only knows how those things behave or act. Okay? For example, we know very exactly how the basic forces of nature work. We know how gravity works. We know how electrostatics works. We don't know why they exist. No physicist can give you an answer because that all depends on the first event of Big Bang, after which the forces came into play, if the Big Bang theory proves out to be correct. So, essentially, fundamentally, you can say how or what is the functioning of the event, what is the functioning of your how one thought goes into the second thought, into the third thought. You can track it very nicely, you can say that. But what you essentially are, that's very, very deep question. So the mind can start to accept the fact that it doesn't know itself. And from there starts the state of not knowing. That's the first few steps of the state of not knowing. Okay? The mind has to see the fallacy of the trick that it's playing to itself, that it knows what it is. And I think that is the beginning of actual meditation. Everything before that is a preparation. When the mind is facing the fact that it is not knowing itself, okay? Because there's simply nothing there to know. Okay? This might be a little radical statement. You don't have to go there. I'm just sharing with you. There's simply nothing there to know. Okay? So, the only thing left is to see the fact and eventually to accept the fact that it cannot know itself. So, it can only observe the change, the movement, the flow of the mind, the thoughts and everything. At best, it can say, I am a movement, I am that movement, and that's it. After that, it cannot move forward. There's nothing it can grasp to. If you have to go another step, you have to be quiet and say, sorry, I don't know. Okay? So, it feels like we have to explore this more. So maybe next week video will be an extension to this. It's already 30 minutes and I don't want to push it too longer. So if any of you have been following properly, then try to do this week. Try to see how the mind always desperately wants to stay in the state of knowing. And why it doesn't want to be in the state of not knowing. And what is the state of not knowing? The beginning, at least, where your mind begins to accept that you cannot know yourself because you are always changing. You're always in a flux. What is there to know in a flux? Or, in the other way, there's nothing fixed about the flux. There's nothing fixed about a movement. That will be the contradiction to the very fact that it's a movement. There's nothing fixed about you. You're neither good nor bad nor anything else. You are just a movement, pure movement. That's it. Just like a clock is ticking. In the same way you are ticking every second. The body, the mind, thoughts, everything. Okay, let's stop it here and we meet again next week. Enjoy.